Hello, my name is Kieran Lindars, and if you don't know who I am, I'm one of the professional Family Challenge ambassadors. Now, today I've put together a routine to help everyone out there maintain their swim fitness whilst not having access to a pool. So you're probably thinking, how can I maintain my swimming without a pool? Well, I'm here to show you. Now, all of these exercises and drills have been accumulated after lots of years being with a swimming club, being with a triathlon club, also being part of the National British Federation Triathlon Squad. So all of these exercises are things that I've learned, picked up, and what works for me. This video is going to be broken down into 3 parts. Firstly, we're going to be looking at how to maintain your stroke technique. Secondly, how to maintain conditioning. And thirdly, how we can maintain, or in some cases even improve, our flexibility for swimming. Not only is it great to work on this stuff as a best case scenario because we don't have the pool, there are also brilliant ways of warming up for racing. So maybe when it does come around to race season, you have a lot more efficient and effective way of getting warm before you actually race. So this could be a key area that you may not have ever experienced or experimented with until now. So this is a really positive time to really get behind the areas that you may have overlooked in the past. It's important to remember before you get going that these are exercises that work for me, and that if you're thinking about implementing them into your training, just have a quick word with your coach or your doctor or your physio just to make sure it's something that they agree with and they think is going to be worthwhile in your program. Now, what equipment do you need? You're going to need some elasticated paddles. If you don't have them, you can make your own. Simply get your paddle. All you need to do is get a bit of stretchy cord. You just need to feed it through one of the holes that you've got in your paddle, tie a little knot, and now you have essentially a elasticated paddle from the top. So you can use just a regular paddle and a bit of stretchy cord. That's how you can create it. Very easy. If worse comes to worse and you have none of that, I'm hoping that somewhere you have an old inner tube. You can use this for the technique part. For everything else, you just need a floor really. A floor, potentially a yoga mat if you're a little bit delicate like myself, and a light dumbbell. If you don't have a dumbbell, get creative. I've got a water bottle here filled with water. That's going to be plenty enough for the exercises that we're going to be going through today. There's going to be a document attached to this video which will go into more depth of what I'm looking for with the exercises and also how to structure it into a proper session.
So, we're going to start with the technique work, and the important thing with the technique work is that it will also be conditioning our body to our swimming stroke cycle. First of all, you need to find a space where you can attach your bands to. In this case, I'm just using a door handle. Once you've done that, take a few steps back until you can feel resistance against the arm. Keeping the elbow nice and high, you're going to slowly lower the forearm until 90 degrees. You will note that my elbow is maintaining its height whilst slightly moving out to the side to allow that rotation to happen. The eye of the elbow should slowly rotate inwards and face towards the ground. When I'm referring to the eye, I mean this part here. It's important to note that if you're using an inner tube or you've made your own elasticated paddles, that you're unlikely to be able to get the full range of motion that the elasticated paddles allow. This is what they are designed for, and we are only just trying to imitate that. With the inner tube, you are potentially only going to be able to get around 30 degrees of range motion. Do not exceed this because it will overload the shoulder. This range of motion is enough to get the activation of the shoulder and the lats. Once again, we're just working to the best case scenario that we have. If you are new to this exercise, it will work the shoulders. If your shoulders are finding this drill particularly difficult, it could indicate that some work to your catch position is needed. Once you've done this drill, there are a few more variations to go. The variations are the double arm catch, which is where you have the elbows high and you're just lowering the forearm. You have the single arm catch where it's the same thing but with single arm. Once you've done this, you can go to the double arm elbow extension where you lock your elbows into your side and you push through just like the last part of your stroke. Then you have the double arm pull throughs where you're essentially adding the two components together of the catch and then the pushing element to complete a full stroke cycle without the recovery phase. You can do this single arm, which also adds an element of core strength. And the last action is to do it alternately. So you're doing the single arm action, but you're doing it as if you were swimming. Now this is one of my favourite things to do and one of the last things that I do when I warm up. I also really like adding in some faster arm work just to emulate doing a sprint effort.
Okay, so we're now going to be working on some conditioning work for the swimming, which is very important because you need a lot of general strength just to hold the positions in swimming, and that's why a lot of people out there struggle with maintaining height on their legs, or they're dropping their arm because maybe the conditioning's not too there. And notoriously with triathletes, because we're trying to get so skinny, it can make life very difficult in the water, because the skinnier you are, the less fat you have, the less buoyant you are. So for triathletes, it's particularly important to be as conditioned as we can get so that we can try and maintain a good body position in the water.
So the first conditioning exercise that we're going to do is the side plank. This is very important because whilst we're swimming, we're usually going from a side to side motion. This means the body has to be strong at supporting itself when we are on one side. If this strength is compromised, you can fishtail, where the legs just move from side to side, or you can drop the hip. You position yourself onto one side with one arm below you and one arm looking to the ceiling. If you find this easy, you can always separate the legs to add additional stress, or if you find this too hard, you can balance from the knee. The second exercise is a small sit-up. You go into the usual sit-up position and slowly glide your hands up your legs, moving towards the knee. When you get to that top section, try and hold it for an extra couple of seconds, and if you want to extend the drill, you can just add a small weight. This is a slow, gradual movement that shifts the load between all the main core muscles. This allows for a strong, synchronized movement of the core and can also help you with areas such as tumble turns. The third exercise looks at your kick in the water. Your back maintains contact with the ground, your legs are slightly raised off the floor, and they emulate your kicking action in the pool. If you can't maintain back contact to the ground, bend your arms and raise it off the floor, still maintaining a straight line. If you find this easy, try the streamline position, where you put your arms into the streamline position, extending your body and making the core work harder. This is important because when you kick, we want to create the most stable base as possible in order to increase propulsion and minimize drag. The fourth exercise is Superman. On your hands and knees, slowly extend your left arm and your right leg outwards. Try your best to prevent the hips from dropping from one side or the body twisting in any way. Return to the original position and repeat for the other side. It's important to do this sort of work because in swimming we work in opposites, and therefore we have to have good core strength across the body in a diagonal plane. The fifth exercise is a tricep raise. Again, on your hands and knees, lift one arm off the floor and lock the elbow into your side. Straighten your arm by contracting the tricep, and you can use a water bottle or a light weight to add resistance. This is important as it is the last phase of your stroke and it can account for a large percentage of the overall propulsion. Therefore, the triceps need to be strong, and this is a perfect way of strengthening them. On to everyone's favourite drill now, press-ups. Both hands and feet should be in contact to the ground, the legs and back are straight, the hand should be a little wider than shoulder width, bend the arms at the elbow, allowing the chest to slowly lower to the floor. Then return to the original position. This exercise works the pecs and triceps, which are important to swimming. It also requires core strength to maintain the straight line through the ankles, hips and shoulders. A variation to this drill is using bent knees, so the same position but just using the knee as a pivot point, or doing the press up with a tight grip. The last conditioning exercise is the shoulder press. Start in a T position, bend the elbows to 90 degrees and then raise the hands above your head. You can use 2 water bottles or 2 small dumbbells to add resistance. This exercise helps strengthen some of the main muscles in your neck, which help you rotate to breathe and also help to bring your arms over during the recovery phase of your stroke. And on to the last focus of today, flexibility. We're going to start with the floor angel. You start in a sit-up position with the arms out to your side and fingers facing towards the ceiling. The hands slowly fall towards the floor. If you can get them to touch the floor, you then slowly walk the arms up above your head into a streamlined position. You must maintain contact with your wrists, elbows and shoulders into the ground. If you get to a stage where you can no longer go any further, you stop, hold the stretch and then go back to the starting position. It is very important to understand that purely getting the arms to touch the floor may be a restriction for most people, so just trying to get that to the floor may be your goal of this stretch. Onto one of my favourite stretches now. With a nice tall posture, slowly drop the head towards one of your shoulders. You can use your arm to support the movement, but do not pull on it. Repeat for the other side. After you have repeated for the other side, you can turn to look the direction that the head's moving, and it will influence how the neck is stretched. And for the last exercise of today, put your arms out in a T position, slowly move them back, and then put them out in front of you. Let the arms cross, push the arms out as far forward as you can, maintaining a straight back, and slowly lower your head. You should feel a nice satisfying stretch all the way down between your shoulder blades.
One of the important things that you can take away from this is some of the technique work that I was doing with the inner tube or the elastic cord or the actual elasticated paddles. This is all work that I do before my race. It's the warm-up routine that I did before Challenge Almere, which was the European Championships, which I led out the water, and it was also the warm-up that I did before both swims at Challenge Daytona, which I also led out the water both times. So these exercises are important and they do help create a bigger picture. And the last thing from me, it's been a very difficult time recently, and there's a lot of uncertainty going around, and there's lots of things that are going on which is bigger than just the triathlon world. So from myself in Challenge, I'm wishing you all the best, and hopefully I'll get to see you at racing soon. Thanks.